Hi. There's a real-life baby over here. As part of a new series, we're finding out about a child's development from the day they're born to the years beyond.
Yes, child development expert Ollwyn Moran is here with her little niece Hazel, who is 3.5 months now. I think we have to we're going to talk about developmental steps, and I think it's very important for parents to know at home. We're not trying to scare, we're just talking about those early weeks, how important, things you can look out for, because public health nurses over COVID weren't able to do the same job that they would have normally done.
Absolutely.
So where do we start with this, Ollwyn?
Well, so I suppose, you know, kind of understanding, first of all, public health checks and the developmental checks, and they tend to occur around 3 months, around 9 months, around the 2 years of age, and then around 3.5 years of age or so. So we kind of thought that, you know, it'd be really interesting to
look at those
kind of phases, exactly, and what actually is going on, and is there a few little things that you can do to help your little one during these phases.
And
so,
we've got a real-life little one.
He's a very kindly volunteer.
Brand new. Her mum is right over there, and this video is coming out when she's 18 years old. She's going to be delighted.
At her wedding.
So it'll be beautiful. So for Hazel, like, what is it? Because I suppose you're just focusing on protecting them.
Yes.
And keeping them alive for the first few weeks.
Stopping them crying.
Yes, there's that. But are there little things that you can do to help babies out?
Absolutely. And don't forget now, the really important thing is, you know, this first 3 months is really called the 4th trimester. So it's like an extension of the pregnancy. And so really kind of the whole focus is survival for mum and baby.
But their brain is developing.
Their brain absolutely is developing. So because they're now outside of the womb, they now have to figure out how to regulate their own nervous system because they were in tune with mum. So that's why skin to skin is so important. But obviously, you know, you can't have skin to skin all of the time, but it really does help to regulate. Your little one will actually regulate with your own system. So, you know, kind of a calming approach. So try not to be too tense when you're engaging, particularly if you're a first-time parent and you're very, very nervous. So if you can, try to override and just to be calm, and do spend a little bit of time skin to skin. So that will help them regulate. But I suppose also what's happening is when they're born, their brain really isn't developed. And actually parts of the brain, believe it or not, aren't fully developed until the early to mid-20s. So your prefrontal cortex, which is the area that's kind of for drive and motivation and higher cognitive functions, that doesn't actually develop until you're in your 20s. So this is a marathon and not a sprint.
So what sort of tests would a nurse do, or what sort of tests should a parent do in the early weeks and months? Because I remember that time, everybody's talking to you about what you should be doing, but when it's a first time round, you're clueless.
Well, I wouldn't even say there's tests as stuff. So we're talking about the primitive brain. So, you know, we know that the brain has 2 halves, left and right. But actually, if you also think about it, when your little one is born, they're born from with these reflexes called primitive reflexes. And so if you imagine the brain is like the palm of your hand, and put your thumb across the center and then roll your fingers down. So these top fingers are like the higher functioning brain. And then this is the primitive part of the brain, or the brain stem here. So your baby's brain is fully like operational from the brain stem, but this hasn't actually wired in yet. And this is what controls movements and controls responses, and this is actually the part of the brain that helps us function throughout our day. So this is a very emotional part of the brain. So you know, this is why we have our primitive reflexes, and as we can see our milestones develop and our babies progress, we can actually then know, and this is what signals to us that the higher brain is actually starting to function.